Scott, that's jwellfire.com, Final Days Report, episode 316. The mainstream news, they're dying. At least they're eliminating humans. They're getting rid of the human capital. And how will this be used to control you? They're not going away. The authorized news is going to become stronger and stronger and stronger. But we're going to prove out it's going to become AI generated, my friends. It's going to be so centralized. It'll be worse than today, where you see the same stories with all the major newspapers and magazines and news accordingly. It's all scripted, and it's going to be even more scripted, my friends. So how does this minimum human created authorized news or trusted sources news fit the big strategy with the Antichrist, omnipresent beast system that we've been talking about for 3 years? The elite parasites are moving for complete control of information, both inputs and outputs. This beast system is coming, and they are just eliminating, they're flat out eliminating human capital within the Mockingbird media. I think it's a good news that it's dying, but don't think for 1 second they're not going to get rid of the news. They're just going to turn it into this AI Big Brother system. And I don't think they care. So let's play this young lady who really does a nice job articulating how devastated the mainstream Mockingbird media is. And I became awake too. I traveled the world on business, and I've always tried to be balanced because I'd negotiate contracts. And like, where would my counterpart, where were they coming from? Like, try to know their strategies. You know, what points they have that are decent points. So I was a big news junkie. I would listen to Fox News and NPR. I tried to listen to all sides of the argument so I could really come to an opinion. And that's how I read the Bible. Like I don't want to have preconceived notions, right? And be programmed. I want to try to get to the truth, no matter if it fits the narrative that I've been taught. So I traveled the world, and it didn't matter what continent. The news was a 180 from what I was told in the States. And that was part of my wake-up journey. I'm like, who's lying here? And how are they lying? And if you recall, under Obama, they reversed the Smith-Mundt Act that allows the mainstream news, where 6 companies, 95% of all media is run by 6 companies. They sit on interlocking board members. I mean, it's all scripted. You've probably seen the viral videos of local news having the same script. But you think about this, what I'm going to show with this video of this woman, it's worse. Once they get rid of all humans, and this is the trusted news, it'll just be 100% artificial intelligence. And it'll probably be sharper, meaning they'll have different nuances of the same story. They will write a story and get you to the same conclusion, but with a different, I guess, lens or different style. Let's roll it. They don't care that they're getting rid of all these people. They're still going to be around, and they're still going to exist, and they're still going to put their collective, centralized propaganda news. Let's roll it.
The entire journalism industry is basically in a free fall. Today, the Los Angeles Times laid off 115 employees. They wiped out their entire DC bureau in an election year. They laid off pretty much all of their sports teams. They killed their entire tech and business section. They laid off breaking news writers, social media editors. The list goes on. But what's really dark is this is just the latest in months and months and months of layoffs in the media industry. In fact, tens of thousands of journalists have been laid off in the past year. Major media companies like BuzzFeed News have completely shuttered their news operations. Time magazine also just laid off a ton of people, and Sports Illustrated basically shut down last week. Pretty much the entire digital media ecosystem that myself and a lot of other millennial journalists came up in has been completely hollowed out. And it's not just digital media sites. Local news has been obliterated. The newspaper industry is cratering. Radio is essentially dead aside from NPR, which has been gutted. Meanwhile, hundreds of workers at Condé Nast, the parent company of pretty much every major magazine from GQ to Vogue to The New Yorker to Vanity Fair, are on strike because they're also facing impending layoffs. Even mainstream national media outlets owned by billionaires like The Washington Post, where I work, and The Atlantic, where I used to work, have done layoffs. If you're a young journalist today, there's almost no on-ramp to traditional journalism. Even if you do get a job, journalists' salaries have been stagnant and even declined. And by the way, we don't make that much to begin with. I don't think people understand how bad the world would be without journalists.
There's a point to that, but when it's controlled, Mockingbird media, this is a good thing. But again, it's all going to be centralized because they're going to continuously shadow ban real news, real insights. So this is not going away, my friends. And I was trying to research artificial intelligence news story generation, and a couple points that I unlocked. AI will be able to give you personalized and customized news stories for different audiences, platforms, and formats, but it will fit that centralized narrative. Especially if AI, I'm going to show you, it's reading all of your emails, probably read all your texts, read and decipher every one of your phone messages, phone calls, listening to you in your home, and then providing a narrative to you that is on point for the globalist strategy. I mean, that is where it is heading, my friends. But another proof point besides the layoffs that people have just lost trust with the news, doing your own research is a good way to end up being wrong. They don't want you diving deep into topics. And I think the As the Days of Noah devil juice has really impacted a lot of people to wake them up. So they're starting to investigate. And one of my ex-girlfriends, her brother just passed at 52, and I'm not sure what the cause was. Died suddenly. People are starting to wake up, and who knows? I'm not sure how he passed, but a lot of my friends that I've talked to about this are like, something doesn't smell right, and this is happening to a lot of people. I probably know 5 people now that have died suddenly, unexplained. And if you follow our ministry, Seal One is open that primes the fourth beast system that is iron, graphene oxide mixed in clay. You're made of clay. This fourth beast system is biohacking you. It's as the days of Noah. And it's well documented. Life insurance companies have said 18 to 65-year-olds, the death rate increase has been between 20 and 40%. That's devastating. That's absolutely devastating. I just read an article today that said laughter can kill you. Laughter. There's probably 38 reasons now why people have been dying of heart attacks, from playing video games, having sex in the shower, sleeping. It's out of control, my friends, and it's going to continuously get worse. But this article, again, and I think this was from the Washington Post, doing your own research is a good way to end up being wrong. They don't want you researching things. It reminded me of Chris Cuomo with CNN saying it's illegal to dive deep and to own WikiLeaks. Remember the pedophilia that was brought out with our leaders with WikiLeaks? Let's read. Law professor smacks down CNN Chris Cuomo's claim that it's illegal to possess WikiLeaks emails, covering up their satanic abuse, defiling the kids. All right, just another proof point. I don't think I played this with World Economic Forum. This is the CEO from the Wall Street Journal just saying, we used to own the news. Yeah, they've lost credibility. Let's roll it.
So if you go back really not that long ago, as I say, we owned the news. We were the gatekeepers, and we very much owned the facts as well. We owned the news.
The arrogance there. We own the news. And again, they're allowed to do psyops on the American citizens by reversing the Smith-Mundt Act. And the censorship is over the top. If you cannot win the argument, you shut it down. Somebody reminded me of how mothers were giving their testimony of their children turning autistic after they were poison poked. And I'm going old school vaccines. And they were censored. Their own personal testimony was censored. And it's just going to get worse, my friends. I pray that some of these journalists actually go old school and create newspapers. And there's just a demand for the truth, my friends. And I don't care how awake you get. If you don't bring the Bible into this, then you're partially awake. You're partially awake. Because ultimately, the crime and the war is against the word of God. It's against Christians, ultimately. This is a soul battle. Satan wants to steal your soul, my friends. But at the end of the day, they're going to have 100% narrative control with this AI beast news media and this controlled or approved media. So it's not going away. Whenever you get a new cell phone, I always remember there's like this approved list of media that shows up. It's fascinating, my friends. And here is why I'm tying these threads together. I just don't cover the news. I try to go into what are the unintentional consequences? What's the big story here? And I try to weave the threads into the beast system and obviously prophecy. But this was alarming. This is from Forbes. Google update reveals AI will start reading all your private messages. Google has just unveiled a game-changing AI upgrade for Android, but it has a darker side. Google's AI will start to read and analyze your private messages going back forever. So they're going to know you better than you know yourself with predictive analytics. They're going to be able to give you news with AI that fits you, but fits the narrative, fits this beast system narrative. That is where it's going. And ultimately, it's this mind controlism that we always talk about, this biohacking you with the Internet of Things, the Internet of Bodies, the wireless body area network. Canada's all over this. Biodirectional remote deep brain control with magnetic anisotropic nanomaterials. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The Canadian government is working with a company where that is their mission statement. That is what they do. It's the Horizon Europe Research Program. Biohacking. Go to SJ Wellfire under news and search the topic poison poke. And I think it's the Lucifer's infrastructure or beast system. Search it. We go over all this mind controlism, nanotech in use system. And if you've taken it as the days of Noah devil juice, pray against it. Personally, I don't think it's the mark of the beast, but I think it's dangerous. I think it has what's called optogenetics technology that goes past the blood-brain barrier and has mind controlism technology. We've proven that out. But they continuously need to poke you. And I think you ultimately need to pray, repent, and pray that wicked system does not take effect on you. Because ultimately, with the mark of the beast, you're going to have to worship an image, the image of the Antichrist that I think will show up as a hologram, part of this AI beast system. But going back to this controlled news and censorship and delivering you this AI beast news, it fits the WHO and the World Health Organization pandemic treaty that they're trying to get signed. It's off their own website. A new understanding of pandemic and epidemic risks, and I like to say plandemic. The World Health Organization, WHO, Hub for Pandemic and Epidemic Intelligence, is working towards a world where collaborative surveillance, get that, collaborative surveillance empowers countries. It doesn't empower countries, it empowers a centralized beast system. Empowers countries and communities to minimize the impact of pandemic or plandemic and epidemic threats. Collaborative surveillance. A key concept within WHO's framework to strengthen the global architecture for health, emergency prevention, preparedness, response, and resilience. They call it HEPR. Facilitates the synthetic strengthening of capacity and collaboration among diverse stakeholders globally, both within and beyond the health sector, to enhance public health intelligence and improve evidence for decision making. And I think it was the last podcast we did summarized it perfectly. Forced vaccination, forced FEMA camps, preventing you from to travel. It's just a disaster. An absolute remdesivir disaster. Putting you on remdesivir that has a fatality rate that is off the charts. For those people that went into the hospital, it's a killing zone, my friends. It's an absolute killing zone. So one of the key reasons why mainstream media is laying off so many journalists is actually because they are replacing most of them with AI. Throughout 2024, most of what you read from the mainstream news is going to be increasingly AI generated. The AI displacement of human workers in office jobs is well underway. Make sense? And just another point of this too. It's the so-called freedom actors as well that are put in place with government contracts. X to ramp up censorship of anti-Semitism and hate speech in wake of Musk visit to Auschwitz, CEO says. And the CEO of X, of Twitter, that lady said, "We believe in free speech, not free reach." Give me a break, my friends. The woman in the book of Revelation is from the place where they crucified Christ, Sodom and Egypt. You need to reconcile that. And the woman with the 10 kings that rides the beast, 10 kings in the end of days, which I think are tech companies, make war with the whore, with the harlot church, with probably London, with Washington, D.C., any place where there's an obelisk, with the Freemasons. So I think this whole thing's going to go down. I actually did a Bible study on that. World War III players. And I remember listening to True News, Rick Wiles' organization, and he basically said that Ben Shapiro gets his marching orders from the Mossad. And now he's going on tour. They're scolding Elon. This is all show, my friends. If you think there's a choice between the right and the left, it's theater. Even these elections. Even this Texas border situation, I think is theater. It's another January 6th, my friends. The Texas governor should have shut down the Texas border years ago. Why now during an election year? They need a civil war, my friends. Be wise. They're trying to pass laws where you cannot organize and form a militia. We're getting primed. We're being put in camps, and they want to ignite the flame. We need to be wise as serpents and gentle as doves and defend ourselves when need be, my friends. But ultimately, where I think this playbook here is happening is when you really dive deep, and we've covered this before with Noahide laws, that if you worship Jesus Christ, that's called idol worship. And when you go dive deeper into their sub-laws of Noahide laws, brought to you by the Kabbalah, these Kabbalah witches, it's off with your head. So many Christians think it'll be Muslims that will behead Christians. Personally, I think it's the Noahide laws going back to the woman that rides the beast. That's Jerusalem. Noahide laws are part of the UN. And every president, including Trumpster, has signed it since Bush Sr. So what's the point of this? I've heard some people are kicked off X that really go after the Gaza genocide and really push back with evidence and pictures. I mean, it is sick what has happened in Gaza. And we've done podcasts on that false flag. I mean, at what point does everything become fake? I just thought this was interesting. It's going to be fake news, fake education, fake actors, movie sets. We cannot be deceived. But I just thought this was interesting. This woman here, and she's just a deep fake, has 137,000 followers in 4 months. It's a digital creation formed by neural networks as the average man's dream girl. She is a virtual Instagram hit, earning $10,000 a month and attracting billionaire suitors, highlighting the era of the digital delusion. Soon, most people on the internet will be NPCs. And I think when I saw this, the first one looks the most fake. I'm going to play the video. The second one looks less fake, but the third one looked real to me. The third one, actually, one of my friends from my hometown, his older sister looks like this woman. And I was like, is that like the daughter of my friend's older sister? Because identical. But let's play it. What say you? Does this look super fake to you, or do you see how people are getting hoodwinked?
And it goes like this. We get your car, you need to kiss me. We'll talk for hours and
She looks fake there to me. Little more realistic.
And I met you in the summer.
Now she looks real to me.
My heartbeat sound.
For there shall arise false Christs, false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Elect are Christians. We cannot be deceived by any of this nonsense, right? So really, when you think about this AIB system, there's no need for journalists, for humans. This biohacking of you planting information, extracting information, programming you. And it goes across all technologies, all sectors: health, education, finance, entertainment, security, and more. Then you think of all the biosensors, the sensors in you with this wireless body area network that communicates, but all the social media, all the cameras, CTVs. I mean, it's insanity. Drones, satellites. Elon Musk, the puppet for the government, shooting up his satellites, probably hooked up to the firmament. Looking down, my friends, in the advancement and integration of AI with other technologies such as cloud computing, Internet of Things, blockchain technology, biotechnology, nanotechnology, and more, these technologies will be omnipresent. It's the big fake, the big trickery, like God. That's what they're building, my friends, and I cover this all the time. You think about it, for you to engage in the system, you'll have to be hooked up with your digital identity. And again, remember the CEO at the World Economic Forum said you're going to be the cell phone by 2030, but you won't be able to do anything unless you're hooked up to this beast system. You won't have healthcare, financial services, food and security, travel, mobility, humanitarian response. You probably have to be hooked up and be part of the system. E-commerce, social platforms, you won't be able to get on unless you're somehow bio-engineered into it. E-government, telecommunications, smart cities, right? They're pushing isolation. And again, so that's you engaging in the system, but then the outputs back to you will be AI controlled for entertainment, news, your school system, right? All of the texts and emails that we've talked about will be scanned so they'll know you. They'll be able to communicate things that you like. Religion ultimately will have approved messages, all the certificates and the doctors. I remember hearing a story, I think it was in California, a whistleblower, a doctor said he got a note that said, if you write and say that somebody gets an exemption for the poison pokes, that you probably are going to lose your medical license. It was implied. How evil is that, my friends? And ultimately, they want a digital government. That's where they're going. If you work for the government, forget it. They don't need you. They're going to have a digital government, my friends. And again, I've covered this 3 or 4 times. I think the Neuralink is theater. They have nanotech that goes across the blood-brain barrier. They don't need to put a chip in your head. No way. We're being programmed to accept this. We're being slowly dripped, right? Go back 15, 20 years in movies with Mrs. Doubtfire and this whole trans movement. It starts out with humor. They need to slow drip you. I bet you they're 20 years ahead of this technology, as we're being told, in my humble opinion. So it's normalizing biohacking you and transhumanism. Let's read. Elon Musk Neuralink has implanted its first chip in a human brain. What's next? He's a front man to biohack you. Neuralink is not the first brain chip implanted in a human. Musk's brain chip interface technology, Neuralink, end game is not to help those who are blind or paralyzed, but rather to jumpstart the next stage of evolution to merge humans with AI, Karen Kingston. And she quotes him. They're going to market this to upgrade your health, upgrade knowledge to compete, upgrade to live forever, this AI rapture, not buying it for a second. And then we've covered this before. You're going to have Bill Gates, his AI on the left, and Elon's on the right. It's all nonsense, my friends. All of it is nonsense. And then this goes back to the failing of the mainstream news because it's all going to be controlled with AI. There's no need for crime journalists. The future of policing using pre-crime technology. So if they biohacked your head, they'll know your thoughts. They'll know your thoughts. And we're going to end with this. In the World Economic Forum, on its website, the World Economic Forum proclaims they have established a quantum computing network which facilitates collaboration in companies like Amazon, IBM, and Microsoft, as well as academic institutions and national governments. This is your 10 kings, in my humble opinion. To prepare society more broadly for significance of the transition. There's transition indeed. what quantum computing can do is unlike anything we have seen to date. Not only will this technology have the ability to control every aspect of life, business, finance, medicine, government, etc., but it will also be able to do this with such precision and speed that every person on the earth could be placed into a one world system. This technology will virtually force the world into a one world financial system, central bank digital currencies, universal basic income, a one world government, and eventually a one world religion. They're priming the pump on all of it. This technology will cause the world systems to merge into one unified computerized way of life. Choices will be eliminated. Freedom will be severely limited. Control will be delivered into the hands of the one who oversees the worldwide interconnecting network. That's the Antichrist that I saw that was hit with the spear of destiny in 2008 within a dream. And they placed his head on a quantum computer, and he showed up as a hologram with free energy devices. The world was in turmoil. Probably Seal 4 with World War III just happened. So just read a snippet from the harbingersdaily.com, quantum computing and AI, witnessing the end time technologies that fall into place. And I'm reading that. It's another proof point. I mean, we've been talking about this AIB system for 3 years because, again, it was a dream I had in 2008. So Christians are starting to wake up to this nonsense. And again, this is just crazy. There'll be no need for governments. Klaus Schwab said the future of government is Google 3.0, thus the 10 kings that have one mind, one hive mind, predictive analytics, their own words.
Digital technologies mainly have an analytical power. Now we go into a predictive power, and we have seen the first examples, and your company very much involved into it. But then the next step could be to go into a prescriptive mode, which means you do not even have to have elections anymore, because you can already predict, and afterwards you can say, why do we need elections? Because we know what the result will be.
No need for political journalists, if that's what they're going to be doing. Well, we don't live in a democracy. We live in a republic here in the United States. But they're like, we know how everybody votes, what their thoughts are, and here's the evidence thereof. You laugh, but that's where it's headed, my friends. So Scott with sjwellfire.com. If you're not awake, if this is somewhat new to you, check out my book, Seal 1 that is open. The Keys to the Fourth Beast System, Iron, Graphene Oxide, Mix, and Clay U. Bookmark our site. Sign up for our email alerts for every podcast that we do. And have a blessed day.